Hey everybody, thanks for checking out this video here on G4G News. I'm your host, Napalm Dawn, and let's go ahead and get right into it. As you can see, we've got Twitter up on the screen, and if I've got Twitter up and you've been following the channel lately, you probably have an idea what that means. So, Delphina777, or as we collectively know her in the media lately, Jessica Price has decided to come back from vacation and resume exactly where she left off. She literally saved the game on a Nintendo Switch game, put it down, turned it off, and came back about 2 weeks later and decided to load up the save and begin again. So as you can see here on the bottom of the screen, on July 11th, after her ArenaNet debacle was going on, she decided to go ahead and check out for a well-earned vacation, aka unemployment. She has now come back 18 days later and has pretty much grabbed the torch that she left and picked right up with it. So her first thing back is, alright, where was I? BlizzardNet, thank you very much. Alright, where was I? Alright, staring in disgust in an industry that values a handful of trolls and neo-Nazis and a bunch of bots more than female talent. Where to begin with this particular lady over here? So, if you're not aware of what was going on, but back in the beginning of July, actually around July 4th, the holiday, Jessica Price interacted with a very, very big fan of Guild Wars 2 on her Twitter. She had posted a multi-post kind of a deal about what it's like to do stories in RPGs and how they compare to doing it in an MMO as compared to an RPG, and how you have to write for the people, and you know, you can write an RPG character the way it's supposed to be, but as an MMO you kind of have to leave it more up to the person, blah blah blah. And a rather huge fan of the game, and apparently that somebody even, you know, the Guild Wars 2 community knows about, and somebody that even the ArenaNet knows about, posted a polite response that was meant to be a discussion starter. He did say he disagreed slightly, and I use that word with no quotes around it because that is exactly the verbiage he used. As he said, slightly disagree with you, and got roasted alive by Jessica Price, burned at the stake like a male witch. And then he was like, whoa, okay, sorry, I was just looking to go ahead and have an honest conversation over here, to which Jessica and Jessica's supporters, excuse me, as a fire truck goes by. Sounds like I live in the ghetto, but I don't. To which Jessica and Jessica's supporters basically were like, oh yeah, sure, back it off and disguise it like you just wanted some honest conversation. You were trying, like, he was not. And she made it very much about sexism in the industry and being female and him being a dude, and used verbiage like rando asshats and mansplaining and everything. And Guild Wars 2 became aware of the whole tirade and terminated her the day after July 4th. So, in Jessica's mind, the community got such an outrage about it that she was terminated because so many people like flooded ArenaNet and said, look, she's being bitchy, this, that, and the other thing, get rid of her, get rid of her. And according to her, ArenaNet folded. According to ArenaNet, they knew of what was going on late on July 3rd, early on July 4th, but took no action because of it being a company holiday, as things are often wont to be in the United States on July 4th, and took action on the next work day. So when that action happened, Jessica made it sound like, oh, the president of the company was there and he just did it to basically laud his huge man balls across me and drag them across my face, and there was no reason for him to be there, and he just wanted to stand over a woman and, you know, make his will known and oppress me and that kind of stuff. And she was termed, but she admitted her more immediate manager was not there. So to me, you know, if I was somebody at my job and I was termed and like my HR person was there and people in the chain of command above me, that wouldn't be particularly odd. It might be a little odd if like my CEO was there, but that's just simply the nature of my company. It sounds like in her company, it's not, especially after what happened. So she's come back and is saying that she's staring in disgust at this, and her former employer poured blood in the water to attract sharks and then threw me in and basically did the same to game devs collectively, especially female non-binary ones. I'm changing how I do Twitter. I've turned off notifications for anyone I don't follow. I think she's being repetitive here. She's said this before. You can look down in her Twitter, and she does state that. Given that my notifications are mostly how I interact with Twitter, if I don't follow you, I'm not likely to see your responses. If you're someone I don't know, you can find other means to contact me. She said that before she left, saying if you are a legit media outlet, you know of ways to contact me. Or put it more clearly for the trolls, have fun screaming into the void, kids. So this statement pretty much says she's going to fold her arms and not be open to any communication as to what she did and the scenario that she created for herself. People I follow, if someone you think I should be following, talking to, feel free to DM me. Anyway, back to the matter at hand. ArenaNet's continued refusal to condemn the increase in harassment they've subjected numerous women to in the industry is pretty telling. No, they don't have to do this because they didn't do the action you said. They fired a person who went on a tirade against a consumer of their product, a customer, and not just any customer who rolled into a GameStop and said, I want that one, Mommy, get me the Guild Wars 2 box. This is a community person. If you know me and you are aware of the other stuff on my channel, I am a community person for Marvel Avengers Alliance. I was not, say, on the level of Kingfisher or CJ back in his heyday when he did the PvP skills videos, but within the Marvel Avengers Alliance community, I was fairly well known. That's what this guy is. If I decided to post something to Play Dom and said something like on, say, their official forums, and I posted something like, hey Play Dom, I beg to differ that you guys are really attacking bugs and everything. I can list at least 10 that have been around for multiple years, at least 5 that I've reported to you guys directly and received responses on. I don't feel that you are really doing the work that you say to fix bugs, and you're doing the community a disservice for claiming that you do. What bugs have you fixed? Can we have a list? And if one of their devs lost his fucking mind and was like, who are you? You're just a piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. And people know me as having played since the closed beta when Justin Woods was on XPlay talking about the game, and I got a code to get into the beta and have the XPlay gadget and been doing videos on the game. It's the same situation, but that would be man versus man over there, so there's no real issue. And if they fired that dev for, you know, losing his mind and like swearing at me and saying like, who are you and you're a rando asshat and thanks for mansplaining the problem, like nobody would bat an eye. They're like, wow, that dev lost his shit. It's good they got terminated. That's all that this is with Jessica. This has nothing to do with what does or doesn't exist between her legs and between her neck and belly button. It has to do with the fact that she put herself out there on her Twitter as a dev, represented ArenaNet, represented Guild Wars 2, and actually flamed a rather well-known community member. The only thing that she's done to ever take any account of this situation is in one thread, one little sentence buried deep down was like, I thought. It was something like, I thought I was, like, I don't know, getting yelled at. I forget exactly what she said, but it was something to the effect of, well, at the time I thought I was getting flamed, blah, blah, blah. And that's it. She's never apologized to the person that she attacked, who's a well-known community member. I've never seen her say, I apologize to ArenaNet for putting you guys in this position. I've never seen... She doesn't even deal with the fact that that other guy, Peter Fries, got termed with her, got fired with her for sticking up for her. She never seems to throw that guy a bone, yet he explicitly stated he was coming to the defense of a friend and fellow dev at the company. So they had some kind of a working relationship and knew of each other, at least in a positive light. But where is her doing the needful, to quote a lot of Indian recruiters and everything, doing the needful and saying, Peter, I'm sorry you got dragged into this and was terminated also. It's all about Jessica. And it's all about her being a woman, really. That's all that she makes this about. I know it's hard for companies to find a spine to take controversial moral stands, but you think, hey, stop threatening to rape and kill female devs, their families and pets would be, low-hanging fruit everyone could get behind. Do you think anybody was attacking Jessica in this way prior to her going on this tirade? I mean, yes, it is, in her defense, it is the very common thing that happens when trolls do seize upon a piece of meat that is blood in the water. If there's a little piece of chum that they've grabbed a hold of on the outskirts of the feeding frenzy, this is what internet harassers do. And for that, I do feel extremely bad for her. You've seen it with Anita. You've seen it with a lot of people. Those e-threats are common, and they're also rote and routine. That is what everybody does when they do this. And for that, I feel bad she has to go through that. However, this was not what was happening prior to this. People didn't look at Guild Wars 2 and ArenaNet and say, oh, you have a female dev on your staff. Fuck you. They deserve to be this, that, and the other thing. She stirred a pot, and here she is saying, and my understanding is that their internal response to this has been to institute more restrictive social media policies. Example, employees aren't allowed to complain about work at all on their personal accounts, but not to institute any additional protections for those who comply. If they're... See, that's the thing. What she's saying is, if you're not stepping into the batter's box, there's no protection for getting beamed by the ball in the head. If a pitcher is throwing at your head because you hit a home run earlier, there's no additional protection to you. If you're not stepping into the batter's box, aka engaging with customers in a flaming manner on your social media, you don't have to worry about wearing a helmet with that additional piece that comes down and covers your chin, or basketball players when they wear that face mask because they've been elbowed as somebody goes up for a layup. If you're not engaging in that activity, you don't need protection. However, if the company is just randomly flaming you for some particular reason, I'm sure ArenaNet would probably step in some way, shape, or form. But I don't know that anybody else at ArenaNet is really wearing their job on their sleeve and so actively talking about their job on their Twitter and acting as a major representative of the company. One of the larger issues here, of course, is not just their insistence that they own 100% of their employees' time and off-work lives, but the promotion of the company is one in which you can interact directly with the devs. If you don't put yourself out there on a personal fucking social media, then you don't have to worry about it. I do not represent myself on my own Facebook page as a representative of the job that I work at. I don't have job people on my Facebook. I had, at a former job, I had several. And knowing that I did certainly watch what I said about the company because I had massive issues with it. It was a soul-sucking job. But I had people on my Facebook that only were of the same mentality as me. I did not put my supervisor on there and then rail against her for being an obnoxious twat and hate the job and have to worry about it. She directly associated herself with her job and talked about her job and got called out for it. Video games have a fan community that's more hostile to creators than any other fan community I'm aware of. Tell that to the Star Wars community. Are you that stupid? And video game companies require more direct engagement from their creative talent with fewer protections than the rest of the entertainment industry. If you don't stick your turtle head out of your shell, it's not going to get clipped off by a passing car. That's the thing. Man, look at Cliffy B, okay? Cliffy B used to work for Epic. Major, well-known name for Epic, similar to Jeff from the Overwatch team. Or, like Ghostcrawler for World of Warcraft and everything like that. Cliffy B routinely deals with flames probably every day of his life, especially when he went off to form Boss Key and he was doing Lawbreakers and he talked about Lawbreakers and he didn't want to make it free to play. Cliffy B himself probably killed Lawbreakers more than anything else, and you can research it and find it out. Do you think he's as upset as Jessica? He's done a similar thing to her, and yet he's not here crying about it. And technically, he's not even fired. I mean, it's his own company, but nobody's been like, "Yeah, we're usurping control. You suck." Or put in another way, the video game industry insists that its creatives also function as customer service reps. Not unless you put yourself in that position. Period. Now, to be very clear, I think anyone who is abusive to a customer service rep is being a garbage person and needs to get smacked down hard by their company. How about saying, however, when a customer service rep is being a garbage person, they need to be smacked down hard by that company. She did that, and she's taking no responsibility for it. However, there's the whole realm of not necessarily overtly abusive, but exhausting behavior, territory of your job description, whenever possible, make the individual customer happy through your interaction with them. I admire the fuck out of people who take it on. Average video game company wants and pressures its creative staff to be out there engaging directly. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't work in that industry. It would be bullshit even if video game fan base wasn't notoriously riddled with aggressive misogyny and racism. I admit she's got a point there. If you go back to the early days of UT, there was definitely a lot of N-word usage to people if they didn't like you in game. Also being called a Jew was pretty common. A lot of anti-gay slurs and everything like that. That I admit she's got a little bit of a point on that. That was not being used from the community to the devs or the game houses. They were used within the community. She's got a point there. All that, however, just happens to be on the clock and company-controlled social media, employees' personal accounts, as if you, as someone whose job isn't customer service, should perform customer service. Again, you are the one who opened this door. If you didn't post that thing about what it's like to do your job at your job, end of story. TV writers don't have to do this. Movie screenwriters, they don't put themselves out there. Novelists don't have to do this. Novelists do often put themselves out there. I'm on Stephen King's Facebook. Somebody could go against, say, this book is the worst thing he's ever done. And if Stephen King goes on a tirade against that fan and is like, this is the hardest book I've ever worked on in a dark time of my life, you fucking suck, blah, 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 you don't know what I was going through, you're damn straight media outlets are going to pick up that interaction and be like, Stephen King loses it on Facebook fan. Abso-fucking-lutely they would do that. That's ridiculous. Creatives, fans rubbed elbows in games, better solution, more nuanced, continuous dialogue, blah, blah, blah. Also, it's never going to happen because it would require management to actually learn from employees. No. How about employees learn from their own actions? Alright, and she's basically kind of does some other stuff. And the reason I hate it isn't because I actually think engaging directly with fans is at all useful. It's not. What's useful there is in actual data, people buying fanfic art. But the reason I continue to engage in both company-sponsored social media and in doing game dev behind the curtains here on Twitter is because I was interested in some stuff. Yeah. Okay, so I want to come back to this more recent thing over here. I thought she decided to get in bed with Zoe Quinn. And it was just simply a retweet. Game devs, help me out here. Too often I hear folks saying it's hard to hire marginalized people for a game dev job, And I want to have something handy to refute that, link me groups, job organization studios, post position. I thought at first Zoe was interacting directly with Jessica, being like, hey, you are a fellow woman with woman problems. Let me enrapture you in my circle, but it was simply a retweet. Getting on board with Zoe is definitely a bad thing. That's not a way to win more fans, considering everything she's done. And her new bio says, game producer, writer, editor, Howling Maenad, fired from ArenaNet and Paizo for refusal to act like I'm men's property. And then her old stuff is still there. I won't play Demir for you, and I block often. In no way, shape, or form in anything about her old situation was she doing anything where she acted like men's property. I'm sure this goes back to her thing of saying that, oh, he just wanted to show up in that meeting so he could drag his leader man balls across my face. The president of a company has the right to do anything within the company, within the bounds of the company's bylaws. Being present at an employee hiring or firing is within his right. Say Jessica was well known in the community for great game scripting and story arcs and everything like that, and she came on board and he was present for her hiring meeting or to extend the offer to join ArenaNet, she would probably be over the wall. She'd come to her Twitter and be like, the CEO of ArenaNet was there and personally welcomed me to the company, blah, 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 blah. That's amazing. She'd be over the wall, but when he was present at her firing, oh, that's a bad thing. Man. She has turned this into a very male versus female thing when it was not at all. This was simply a person who stuck their head out and bit off more than they can chew by attacking a well-known content creator within the Guild Wars 2 community. If this was just some rando asshat who just was a player of Guild Wars 2 and took the opportunity to ask Jessica Price that or refute something she said, it might not have even gone over so bad. But if that guy had a ton of fans and realized this was a good person, also realized that just recently he made several sentences to the fact that he liked Jessica's writing and the work that she has done for Guild Wars 2, I think on this Season 3 thing or whatever. I mean, she basically bit the head off of somebody who was a fan and could have been a supporter of her and maybe even supported her if she did this to somebody else, but yeah, she lost her mind. If you want to see somebody similar to this in terms of neuroses, I highly suggest you go over to Sid Alpha's channel and look up Alex Mauer, Mauer, I believe is the name, or just search through YouTube for videos on Alex. Alex is somebody else who has been well known for losing their shit within the gaming industry, and you'll see a lot of parallel similarities between Alex and Jessica. And again, where is the nod to the fact that Peter got canned in this? Also, Peter got canned for a hell of a lot lesser of an offense. If the roles were reversed, if Peter was the one who interacted with that community member, Dewar, if Peter was the one who interacted with Durar and he flamed Durar and Jessica came to his defense, chances are Peter would be fired and Jessica probably wouldn't, because ArenaNet would be afraid to terminate a female for such a light offense. However, Peter just got it right up the butt on this. I mean, he really didn't do anything nearly as bad as what Jessica did, but because he happened to get into bed with the situation, he got canned too, and nobody's talking about him. Nobody is going to him and, as far as I know, saying, how do you feel? If you could go back, would you do it again? If you knew your actions would lead to you being terminated, would you rethink what you did? Would you still stand up for it? He's become the forgotten soul in this. So that's my take on this, guys. I cannot believe she's come back and picked right up with this. And I think this bio right here is pretty much career suicide. I don't know that she's going to be picked up by anybody in the future for a long time. If they do, I would almost think it would be very quiet and on the side. They would not make a big deal about it. They may hire her and not really be like, oh, the Yankees have just acquired the best pitcher in baseball. I think it's very, very risky for a company to take on Jessica Price unless maybe it's a small indie house that doesn't really care about their rep, or perhaps a more um, minority-based indie house. So in the recruiting area for IT, you see things like MBE, minority business-owned enterprise, and everything like that. That might be what picks Jessica up. I hope for her sake, having been on the outs of the job world for a while at times myself, I hope she does get a job. I hope she does not go long and she's in jeopardy for living and maintaining a house, an apartment, food, pets, anything like that. I certainly don't wish her to be without money. I'm just going to state that I think it's going to be a while before she actually gets a job, especially with this shit and the fact that she's come back from her vacation and clearly learned nothing in what should have been a very self-reflective and meditative 2 weeks. So, napalm out, guys. Have a good one.